Hello, this is Rick Harnish. I'm the Executive Director of the High Speed Rail Alliance. Very happy that you could join us today. Uh, uh, for those who are new to the organization, we're a member-supported nonprofit advocating for fast, frequent, and affordable trains across the country. And we're working towards a true federal railway program that provides both high-speed rail, regional rail, and quality night trains and intercity buses, all working closely together to reconnect cities and towns all across the country. Probably about 20% of that network needs to be new electrified lines dedicated to very fast trains. So we are member supported. If you're excited about the potential for having great trains in your community, please go to highspeedrail.us and in the upper right-hand corner, click that Become a Member button. And you can join a very rapidly growing group of Crete people working for a reconnected America. Today, we've got a discussion about Indiana. Um, I'm not sure that Indiana wants me. I can't take the train to many places, but we've got a great speaker talking about that. And Chris, if you can introduce our speaker, and Todd, if you can turn your camera back on.
Oh, yeah. Well, thanks, Rick, and thanks everyone for being here. I'm Chris Ott. I'm the Deputy Director with the High Speed Rail Alliance, and our speaker today is Tod Bassler, who grew up in Illinois, Ohio, and Europe. During his teenage years, he lived for 8 years in Belgium and England, and this taught him the value of transportation choice, even in the 1970s. He has been a member of the High Speed Rail Alliance for more than 15 years, which of course we love. And today he leads the Indiana Passenger Rail Alliance. If you have a comment during the talk, please use the chat feature. If you have a question, it makes things easier if you use Zoom's Q&A feature. We'll get to as many questions as we can after the presentation. But with that, please welcome Tod Bassler. Oh, Todd, you're muted.
Okay. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to Friday's lunch presentation. First, I would like to thank the HSRA staff, Rick, Chris, Dylan, and others for inviting me to speak today. Chris, are you able to put the first slide on the screen?
Yes, here we go.
Okay.
Can everyone see that?
So I'd like to start out talking about Indiana because as far as the Midwest is concerned, we're right in the middle of everything. And the Crossroads of America has been a term that I'm sure many of you are familiar with. Initially, the Crossroads of America was the intersection of US 40 and 41 in downtown Terre Haute. So that was very interesting. And the the federal highway system, the US routes were implemented in 1926. So that's when 40 and 41 were designated there. 11 years later, in 1937, the Indiana General Assembly adopted the Crossroads of America as a state motto. And 51 years later, in 1988, the state capital, Indianapolis, adopted Crossroads of America as its official slogan. So there's a little bit of interesting history about the term Crossroads of America. And I would also like to talk about the photo that's on the main page here. This is a photo of the Statler Flirt H2. It's a state-of-the-art commuter train, which is now test running in San Bernardino, California, and anticipated to enter service first quarter next year. So we'll be talking more about this later. Next slide, please, Chris. The Indiana Passenger Rail Alliance is a 501c3 nonprofit. We were established in 1994, and our goal is to promote getting Indiana out of the latter half of the 20th century and into the 21st century with regards to transportation choice. We have 10 board members and about 1,600 active interested parties in our mail list. You can reach us at our fairly new, recently created website, allaboardindiana.org. And it was created by one of our wonderful young members. So go have a look at our website, and all the information about our organization, including how to join and participate. That information is located there. I would like to start talking about something that is maybe subtly out there. That information is subtly out there, but not really discussed often, and that is how our transportation choices in the last 75 years have impacted the well-being of our people, of our citizens, and frankly, I think in a somewhat negative way. So I'm going to show you some data. Next slide, please, Chris. Talks about social capital, and I've gotten this information from Strong Towns, a very useful organization. And this chart here shows the social cohesion over the years from the last few centuries, and how it has gone up and then gone back down again. Next click, please. By nature, we're human creatures. I'd like to talk about the third place. And next click. And family versus village. Next. Adult versus child spaces. This is all part of what makes us social beings. And I can see the reasons for that latter half of that chart declining. Next item, please, Chris. Things like suburbanization, technology and media, while they have been very helpful for us, there is a potential for, I don't know, domination by that technology of one's attention. Demographic changes, work economic pressures, other things. And frankly, I think that things like a community living room, parks, for example, coffee shops, brew pubs, those types of environments are great third places. So how do we solve this isolation epidemic? Because I would hope that some of you agree with me that we're a lot more isolated today from one another than we were in the past, when we used shared transportation a lot more. Now, of course, we're very much in shared transportation when we're crammed into an airplane, but third places are important things. Next click, please. So using shared public transportation is a way to reconnect us socially, I think, and that's why I wanted to bring this up. I thought this social capital, social cohesion topic is a foundation to why we want to improve our passenger rail transportation choice. Next click, please. This, go back to the last slide, please. Okay. So on YouTube, there is a video called "We Build Only Places, Can We Get Out?" And that is the video that sparked me to include this information today, which talks about how simple things like drive-throughs in fast food places, where there is somewhat of an urgency that really isn't there, because it allows limited social interaction. Next slide, please. So driving's back with a vengeance. You see the darker colors on there are the areas where things are significantly more, like in Texas and Atlanta, and a little bit less intense in the Chicagoland area and in other areas of the Midwest. I see Louisville is darker too on that. So next click, please. So Terrace Gresco is a Canadian public speaker who has some very good content online. And this is an approximate quote from him, in that he says, in the latter half of the 20th century, being modern, meant bringing cars into cities. What we're finding now in the 21st century is many places, look in many places in Europe, for example, they're wanting to keep the cars out. European cities used to be as car clogged as ours, and we can reverse that too. Paris, France recently banned large SUVs, or either taxed them with a fee or banned them. They're somewhere in that process right now. Next slide, please. Okay, villages versus Stroads. Stroads are very interesting North America phenomenon. We see those everywhere, and it's a vicious circle of we want to drive, it gets crowded, we build more capacity, it gets crowded, and it's a constant circle of no return. Next click, please, Chris. This is an interesting piece of information regarding the cost of a lane mile when adding lanes to a highway. Now, there's plenty of information out there that talks about how adding lanes to highways provide a temporary relief, but that is quickly gobbled up by added demand. So those numbers are huge, just huge. Next click, please. So the founder of Strong Towns, Charles Marone, said it really cleverly, in that he compares a Stroad, which is a term which means street and road, to a futon. A futon is neither a good bed nor a good couch. And in a similar fashion, a Stroad is neither a good highway nor a good place to go. What we find on Stroads in North America is lots of traffic lights allowing people to enter and exit shopping areas. And it usually takes a significant amount of time to traverse a junction in a Stroad area. And of course, it's extremely risky to walk in those areas. And of course, if there are sidewalks, again, very risky to walk. So this slide talks a little bit about how induced demand is real. It costs a lot of money to increase capacity, and frankly, at the end of the day, you don't see a lot of advantage from that. So if you don't know what the term Stroad means, now you do. Next slide, please. So our population has doubled in my lifetime. I'm low 60s, mid 60s, and the choice of low density transportation, what I refer to as low density transportation, are automobiles, where typically 1 to 2, maybe if you're lucky, 4 people in an automobile. And I don't see that as a sustainable only option because, of course, we have more people. And while automobile transportation, we all agree that it's extremely comfortable. It's not, as our population grows, it's not really sustainable. Next click, please. So we're here for a short period of time on this earth, and frankly, I would rather not sit in parking lots that used to be, called highways. And you'll find this in urban areas a lot, where if you look at Google Maps, for example, you'll see a lot of red, yellow, and maybe some green in most urban areas where people's time is being wasted away. Next click, please. So I see isolation continuing to be a challenge with our transportation choices. As I said, I mentioned earlier about drive-throughs and the fact that I think it mostly creates a sense of false urgency and isolation from someone you're doing business with. So I like to walk into fast food places whenever I can. But I think automobiles have a wonderful place in our society. I think the balance between choices is out of kilter. So that's my general message here. Next item, please. Next click. Many movies of the future depict citizens traveling in trains. A favorite movie of mine is Tomorrowland with George Clooney, where they've got a train-like vehicle actually flying. It's good movie magic, but I see that as a successful future. Next click, please. So how do we get from our current second half 20th century transportation experiment, that's what I'm calling it, back to transportation choices that are more enjoyable and equitable? Next, please. I'm coining it a transportation choice, and I would like to move on to the main part of my presentation, where we talk about what are we doing in Indiana to improve transportation choice. Next, please. Okay, so many of you are familiar with the quarter ID studies that are headed up by the FRA. Next, please. Next. So there are 4 categories in the studies, and I'm just going to briefly summarize the 4 categories. The first category is new high-speed rail. There are 7 studies that are being done right now, and those are, I'm not going to read them, but those are examples right there of the new high-speed rail. Many of you are familiar with those projects. Next, please. New conventional rail. There are 34 studies for that, and there are 2 of those 34 studies that apply to Indiana. One is called Midwest Connect, and the other is the Indianapolis to Louisville corridor. And while both of those lines had service at some time in the past, they are being labeled as new conventional rail. Next, please. Existing routes with extensions. There are 13 studies in that category. One that does affect Indiana, because the Wolverine does traverse Lake and Porter counties in northwest Indiana, is some advantages over in the Detroit, Windsor area, where they would extend under the river to Windsor, Ontario. That's pretty cool. Next, please. So there are 15 studies for existing routes, and there are 3 areas that are included here that affect Indiana, 2 in Michigan, the Pere Marquette and the Blue Water, improvements to that. Amtrak is driving the corridor ID study for the daily Cardinal service, which affects many states, of course, between here and Washington and New York City. And the third is very much Indiana-centric since our loss of the Hoosier state a few years ago, and that's Indianapolis to Chicago corridor improvements. Now, for actually two of the corridor ID studies that are shown on this page, I'm sorry, three, yeah. I show in parentheses after the description there, who asked for the study and who are they contracting with. So for Indiana, Midwest Connect was asked for by the city of Fort Wayne, and they're working with HMTB. For the Indianapolis to Louisville corridor, KIPTA, that's the Kentuckiana organization. They are contracted with AECOM, and Indiana Department of Transportation is contracted with WSP. Okay, next page, please. Okay. Okay, we're missing a slide. Okay.
Let me just go back, see if it's there. No.
Yeah, we're missing a slide right there. I'll come back to this, Chris, when we have a moment. If you could grab that most recent version, we'll show that in a little later.
I'm sorry. I'll get it right now.
Okay, we can just take a quick pause.
I thought I had the very most recent version open, but evidently not.
So it would be the one with the 6 on the end. That would be today's date. It's worth it, everyone.
Here we come. Sorry about that, Todd and everyone. You seeing this now?
Yes, yes. So go ahead and hit the clicker. So referring to the previous slide, the new conventional rail, the Midwest Connect is shown at the top of the map there between Chicago, Gary, Valparaiso, Plymouth, Warsaw, Fort Wayne, and on to Columbus, Ohio, and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So that's the study for that particular line. The Indianapolis to Louisville is on the bottom of the slide. Indianapolis, Columbus, Seymour, Louisville, and that's the one that is being headed up by KIPTA down in Louisville. Next, please. So for existing routes, basically both of those studies apply to the line between Chicago, Rensselaer, Lafayette, Crawfordsville, Indianapolis. So Amtrak is focusing on daily Cardinal, taking it from 3 days a week to 7 days a week, and INDOT is focusing on corridor improvements. Next, please. Okay, so there are other grants and studies that have some level of impact on Indiana. The FSP National grants for the 2 grants for improvements to Chicago Union Station. This group, I'm sure, knows a little bit about that, a lot about that. It's a really big deal. It will really improve service from Indianapolis, from Indiana into Chicago. Next. There are other grants for FSP Northeast Corridor. Next, please. CRISI grants that affect Indiana for 2 short lines here in Indiana. Next, please. raise grants that affect a few things in Indiana. Next, please. And the Amtrak Daily Long Distance Service Study is fascinating. So far, there have been 4 meetings and 15 proposed routes. And these are routes for Indiana. And of course, this is a what if. This is a let's get our ducks in the row in preparation for some kind of future service. Places like Terre Haute and Evansville on the west side of Indiana, those areas are discussed and part of proposals in the long distance service study. So there's a lot of data online about this study. You can go and you can read the details. Those reports are available. Next slide, please. This year, we have IPRA has partnered with some Indiana mayors and lawmakers to talk about corridor ID and ask them to prepare for phase 2. So phase 2 is where a 10% local match is required to continue with the service development plans. Most of the work was done with former government affairs senior manager Derek James of Amtrak, and we are now working with Chris Damian and Marty Sandoval. He is the son of Marty Sandoval, who unfortunately passed away in 2020 from COVID, but he is now the manager of government and community affairs for Amtrak. So got some young blood in there. I think I wish him well. Next, please. So this is a quick list of who we have spoken with this year here in Indiana about the corridor ID programs, and again, asking them to prepare for phase 2. So we've talked to mayors of 5 cities here in Indianapolis. For the Tippecanoe County MPO, that's Lafayette, West Lafayette, and cities of Gary, Valparaiso, Warsaw, Plymouth, Fort Wayne, Lima, Ohio. That's for Midwest Connect. Indianapolis Department of Metropolitan Development. That's the group that we are working with as we approach the mayor of Indianapolis. KIPTA. Here is the full name for that acronym: Kentuckiana Regional Planning and Development Agency, based in Louisville, and of course affects the cities in Indiana. Both the Indiana and the Indianapolis Chambers of Commerce, and a few cities, for obvious reasons, wanted their tourism people plugged into the discussion because, of course, tourism will be just a partner in improving transportation choice. Okay, next, please. So a few of us in IPRA have proposed a new commuter rail similar to the South Shore Line. And the reason for that is because of the breakup of Indiana University and Purdue University here in Indianapolis. In July of this year, IUPUI, the university, while it's physically in the same place, is now 2 distinct regional campuses for Purdue University and for Indiana University. So where they used to be somewhat married together, they are now regional campuses. So Purdue is very interested in connecting the campuses with efficient transportation and giving students and staff the opportunity to do something at one campus in the morning and something at the other campus in the afternoon. And so that is very important. This proposal here, as shown on the screen, in August of last year, we published a proposal for this commuter rail between the two cities. And that would use 3 of the lines as shown here on the lower right, 2.6 miles in Lafayette, 25 miles of Norfolk Southern, and 47 miles of CSX. And one very important benefit of this is that it would traverse the new LEAP district in Lebanon, which is a new office park that is being built near Lebanon. Eli Lilly and Company is they're investing billions in a new facility there, and connecting that facility to Indianapolis and Lafayette, besides the endpoints of the universities, would be a huge advantage. Now, until this is established, a 1.5-hour commuter bus service has started between West Lafayette and Indianapolis to provide this sort of service. And of course, the challenge is when there's issues on I-65 between Lebanon and Indianapolis, and that seems to be a daily occurrence, then all our eggs are in one basket there. And what this proposal offers is a parallel option when another transportation mode, i.e. this bus, is delayed. And I think we could probably do a commuter rail, a regional commuter rail, in less than 1.5 hours. So that's really exciting. Next click, please. So the proposal is supported by President Mung Chiang and the Purdue for Life, the Alumni Foundation. And one part of this proposal is, so what kind of equipment would Purdue just absolutely support, being the technology center that it is? And next click, please. As I referred to on the first page, Metrolink SBCTA's Aero service uses, next click please, uses the Statler ZEMU. Now, SBCTA stands for San Bernardino County Transportation Authority. And so they are basically east of Los Angeles in an area where Metrolink, the Los Angeles transit system, has a 9 to 10 mile long transit corridor called Aero. And this Statler vehicle that we see in the picture here recently broke the Guinness World Book of Records for running without refueling. And I can't remember the exact number. I think it must have been around 1,600 miles, but don't quote me. That's something you just want to look up. But again, that will go into service in early 2015. It is hydrogen powered, and it will run on that 10-mile link. And a vehicle like this for what we're calling Boilermaker Express, for Purdue folks, you'll know what I mean. That would be a real hit for Purdue promoting technology. Okay, next slide, please. So challenges. Let's talk about challenges. Next, please. And I wanted to touch briefly on Amtrak's legal right to preference. I did a little research into the laws to understand to understand what what the history is And this is a slide that addresses that. Next, please. Next. So the first law to create Amtrak was in October 1970. That's the public law number. You can look it up, and that's the top right clip on the right side there. Next, please. The next law in 1973, and that's the next picture on the right there. That's the law that gives Amtrak preference over freight trains. So there it is. If you want to look up more details, that right there is just an image of the pertinent area of the law. Next, please. Then there was another improvement law in 1974. Next, please. Another improvement law in 1976. And the FAST Act in 2015. Some of us are quite familiar with that. So these public laws can be looked up and read by referring to those numbers that I have on the screen there. Next, please. So there are some there's some very interesting things going on right now regarding these laws and why they are not being enforced, primarily the preference law. And there are some bills out there right now, first introduced in 2021, and again introduced this year. So in the 117th and the 118th Congress, these are the bills, and the images on the right side. The bottom one there is this Senate bill, and that's the one that says let's have some, when the freight trains don't follow this law, we want some repercussions. So next click, please. So that will be very interesting, how that will how those bills will turn into laws. Again, this is the second try at introducing these bills, and we'll see how that goes. So this is a little information about what advocates have been talking about for quite some time. Next page, please. So this is last year's Host Railroad report card, and I thought this was very interesting. Long distance on the left side, state supported on the right side. Many state supported have very good data. Keystone, Pere Marquette, Hiawatha, very good. And all the long distance ones are in a fail mode. Looks like the Cardinal is at 58%. That's the one that goes through Indiana. So there's a lot of improvements here. Canadian Pacific has an A, KP, CPKC, Kansas City, Kentucky, no, Canadian Pacific, Kentucky Central, yeah, or Kansas City. I got that right. So they're doing quite well. I look forward to seeing this year's report card when it comes out, and of course the Borealis will be on that. So we'll see how that turns out. That will be very interesting to see that. Next slide, please. Here's something that talks about something that very much affects Indiana and Illinois, and frankly everything east of Chicago that goes through northern Indiana, and that's the south of the Lake Bottleneck. IPRA member Steve Coxhead is the private sector representative for Indiana on the Midwest Interstate Passenger Rail Commission, MIPRC. And so he is our conduit into MIPRC and what's being done about that. So next, please. Next click, please. So in last year's MIPRC meeting, Amtrak was supposed to take the lead on this somewhat project. and no funding was allocated. Next click, please. This year's MIPRC annual meeting in St. Paul, Minnesota was just a short time ago. And while Amtrak continues to facilitate this effort, there's still a lot to be done. What we expect is that the FRA will publish a document about this in first quarter of next year. So yes, things are being done to address this, but golly, not fast enough. Okay, next slide, please. So something that has fascinated me is how we pay for all this work that's being done, because the bipartisan law is frankly just a start. And I did some research and found two areas, two sources of this information. Next click, please. One is the Build America Bureau. Frankly, I don't know a whole lot about the Build America Bureau, but this is a source of this of funding. Next item, please. The other thing that I'm a little more familiar with is the Coalition for National Infrastructure Bank, and that's their website right there. Next, please. This bill was introduced last June in the House, and what this is, on the right side is at congress.gov. This is a picture of the main page for that bill. And next click, please. So people may ask, so what is this thing? What's it done for us in the past? Well, these are four banks historically that have helped us like this. So there's a great track record of this source of funding for infrastructure. And we're talking about any infrastructure. We're talking about utilities. We're talking about transportation. This is, anything that is wearing out, and a lot of our infrastructure is wearing out, and this addresses that. On the right, it shows there are 41 co-sponsors for this bill right now. The picture was taken recently. There are 11 co-sponsors in the Midwest, 4 in Illinois, 4 in Michigan, 2 in Ohio, and 1 in Wisconsin. And we are working to try to get the co-sponsor or 2 here in Indiana. Next click, please. This is a video. This is a hot link here to a video on YouTube, actually a series of videos that explains what was done during the early part of, or actually I would say the middle of our last century, the Reconstruction Finance Corporation, when Franklin Roosevelt was president. And Jesse H. Jones is a guy that basically did a lot of very positive things to get us out of the Depression and out of World War II. Many of us know Walter Cronkite. From many of us older guys know who Walter Cronkite is. It's a very well narrated series of videos. If you want to learn more about this this whole NIB thing, I would start with the videos and then go to their website if you're interested in learning more. Bottom line is, if there's a better way to finance what we need to do to improve passenger rail, I'm all for it. But until I see something else, this seems quite logical to me. Next slide, please. I wanted to touch base on the Sonoma-Marin area rail transit system. It's called SMART. That's a very nice coincidence that the acronym is SMART as well. This is in wine country, just north of San Francisco, and this is a map of the line. And the reason why I bring it up is, well, we have our own interurban here in Indiana, and there are lots of things that are being done to improve that system. Well, this system is also fantastic. Next, please. About 70 miles of right-of-way, currently has 12 stations with 4 more planned. And next, please. So it parallels Highway 101 in most of its part, and it's just a really good regional system. Accommodates feeder buses and shuttle services, park and ride facilities. Next click, please. 3 cities along the line, promoting a lot more walkable downtowns, transit-oriented development. Just really excited to see what's happening there. Next, please. And like Indiana South Shore, SMART has passenger and freight service, with the added bonus of, and we've tried this on the nickel plate here in Indiana, by the way. There's a bicycle jogging trail along part of that route. So they have successfully implemented rail and trail on this SMART system. And if you go to their website, you'll see some of that. It's fantastic. Next, please. That's their main website. Go and have a look. It's worth it. Next, please. So this video here is one we're going to try to play here at the end of the presentation. And it's a 30-second video, and I really like it. So I won't say any more until, but again, it's promoting social interaction to the max. Next slide, please. Let's touch base quickly on the government priorities. Let's start at the federal level. On the 12th of November, just a few weeks ago, City Lab Transportation published this list of priorities that they interpret as Donald Trump's plan. And you can find this article on the Bloomberg website. Some of the things here are, some of the key points of this message are: infrastructure has historically been a nonpartisan issue. That's a really good thing. Next. The IIJA, BIL, that's, when it was put into law in the latter half of 2021, I think that continues to be a solid plan. Next, please. The Department of Government Efficiency, the DOGE, funny acronym. That's a new thing that we've recently heard about, that the next president will put into place. That's going to be very interesting because I'm sure many of you seen on the news that Musk and I think it's Ramaswamy, I think his last name is pronounced that way, are heading up that effort, and they're not happy with what they're seeing with the California high-speed rail system. So that will be interesting to see what becomes of that. Next, please. A key message in the Trump plan is continue to push funding to the states. So that's going to be even more of a challenge, especially with Indiana, because Indiana just really needs to get a better plan for funding for passenger rail. Next, please. And this is another thing, and that really is my comment, by the way. They're wanting to push for highway expansions, and as many of us already know, that's a lost cause. That's millions and millions of dollars, and it just fills right back up again. Next, please. Okay, Indiana's priorities. This is Mike Braun's plan as published yesterday, actually, in the Indianapolis Star, by a transportation person, Kayla Dwyer. So there are 6 priorities on here, and let's just go through them real quickly. Reduce property taxes. You get what you pay for, so I'm not a big fan of that. Reorganize, slim down Indiana government. Go for it. There's always improvement there. Third one, adopt universal school choice. Fourth one, drive down healthcare costs. Fifth one, enhance public safety and stem illegal immigration. That'll be interesting. And the 6th one is diversify energy policy to lower utility bills. Again, you get what you pay for, especially when our infrastructure is wearing out. Again, refer to how to pay for repairing and improving our infrastructure, as I talked about earlier. So I don't see transportation on that list. Again, I really see other states here in the Midwest pressuring our next governor, Braun, to get with it regarding the transportation choice. At least I hope that's what's going to happen. Okay, next page. So who do I listen to? Who do I see as sources of information that help me better understand what we're dealing with here and how to improve it? So the first one on the list, of course, is go ahead and click. The first one on this list is this organization. I've been a member for many years, and I highly respect what Rick has put together and what the team here does in providing very useful information. Next. Jim Matthews is very visible. He's the leader of the Rail Passengers Association, and he does a very good job of communicating online. You see a lot of his activity, and boy, that guy's busy. Really, really busy. Next, please. Jason Slaughter is a Canadian guy. He moved his family to the Netherlands. He and his family have become Dutch citizens just recently, and his content online is tremendous. I highly recommend Jason. It's just very logical what he's done, and he addresses just a lot of things that affect the well-being of people as they live their lives. Next. Ray Delahanty, city nerd. He's really very interesting. I highly recommend a video that he recently did with Secretary Buttigieg regarding the future of passenger rail. It's about 22 minutes, and he just did it a short time ago. So that's on YouTube, and we can provide a link if you'd like. Next, please. Reese Martin is a Canadian transit guy. He does a tremendous amount of very useful information on many topics. He travels around a lot. And next, please. Hayden Clark, another transportation engineer and planner that I'm connected to. He just gets it like the rest of us. Next, please. Jerome Horn used to work here for Indigo here in Indianapolis, and that's when I met him a few years ago. And he's one of those guys that's just he's young, and he just is really becoming visible. His hometown is Baltimore, so he lives there now. But he was here in Indianapolis for 5 years, and was instrumental in the Red Line BRT that is now running here in town. Next, please. Tom, he won't share his last name, and of course, that's a wise thing, I think. But Tom does Trains Are Awesome, and he's a Dutch rail advocate. He's moved around quite a bit, but I think he lives in the Washington, D.C. area now. But he's really young, and his content is very, very much worthwhile. Next, please. So I talked about strong towns a few times here in the presentation. That's another group that that just gets it as far as basically improving your area, your towns. Next, please. Wendover, that's another very good source of information. I don't know a whole lot about them. Next, please. So Nebula is everything with an asterisk on this list here. They have content on Nebula, and if you become a Nebula member, subscribe to them, and if you see some of the content here, they'll send you links for discounts. Nebula is a wonderful platform for this type of information that helps us, basically equips us advocates with information as we approach the people where we need to influence them and hopefully change their minds. Next, please. So this is the part where we talk about questions here. Here's my contact information. Next Thursday, the 12th, the Cord ID requesters for here in Indiana will be convening in Indianapolis to discuss their status and prioritize next steps. So just a heads up that will be happening. So there's a lot of activity. So all four of the studies, I believe that that I talked about today, we'll be talking about that. So many advanced countries around the world for the last 30 years have made great progress in providing better choice. And it's up to us to make some noise and push for the same choice here in North America. And when I say North America, I mean Canada too, because even though Canada is a separate country, a lot of the transportation challenges that we have here, they're also in Canada. And I'm currently reading this book called Killed by a Traffic Engineer. I thought this was very interesting. But relating to some of the information I shared earlier in the presentation, I believe we can do better as we look into the future. I'm opening the floor to questions.
Excellent. Thank you very much for this presentation. I've been very frustrated again that, Chicago to Indianapolis, it's what, 190 miles? And
yeah,
the fact that there is no hourly train service, though there should be, and the plans aren't getting there very quick, but we can get started. But, you didn't touch much on the South Shore, which is a really cool success story.
Yes.
How does that work into your discussions?
Yeah, so the South Shore, of course, the double tracking has been completed. I think they need to fine tune their scheduling. I receive, you can sign up for emails from them that tell you about delays and whatnot, and I see way too many delay messages. So they need to work on that. And they sometimes, 3/4 of the time in the messages, they'll give a reason why the delay is there. And some of these delays are avoidable. But what's really exciting in the near future will be this Monon leg. I guess they're calling it the Monon leg because it's along the Monon line, also called the Westlake branch that goes down from Hammond down to Munster Dyer. So that will be, I look forward to that. And of course, the new station in Hammond that accommodates both of those branches has opened. And our member who lives right there, Steve Coxhead, he's commented on a regular basis of how things are going there. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, I drove a long portion of that extension down to Dyer, and there was a crossing that they did a grade separation that you wouldn't think, you know, in North America they would be that aggressive, but that's very exciting.
Yes, looking
What
for.
would you, I'm sorry, what would you think about having NICD run all the way to Indianapolis?
Logical. Why not? Why not? Yeah, we could get that Boilermaker Express go, and they could use that same line there, because frankly, I don't know what's going to become of this LEAP, and LEAP is an acronym that stands for limitless exploration. LEAP stands for Limitless Exploration Advanced Pace. I have to look that up every time because it's a tongue twister. But the bottom line is, if there's a rail transportation option at that location, and Lafayette and Indianapolis, and as Rick alluded to, extending north to Dyer, that would be incredible.
Yeah, and then, you know, you are in fact the crossroads in many ways. Just for fun, we do have this image on the website of a crayon if Indianapolis were the center of the high-speed rail network.
Oh, wow.
And you know, certainly it makes a tremendous amount of sense for Indiana to be the leader.
Yes. Yes.
So, what do you think it's going to take to get the Indianapolis business community to start thinking about hourly service to Chicago and to Louisville?
So changing minds in the Indiana government will continue to be a challenging task. When we approach them, they're all, you know, happy, happy, happy. Let's do it. But there are some players in the State House where we need to befriend and educate and convince. And I think that can only be done by us citizens making a lot of noise, reaching out to your representatives and senators and say, this is what we want. This is what we want. Please listen to us.
Absolutely. I don't know. That should be the conclusion, and we're a little over time. But Chris, are there any real pressing questions from the audience?
Well, Todd, your talk generated really lively discussion and lots of questions. We're not going to be able to get to all of them, but here's
Okay.
one on the topic of, you know, other people who should, you know, listen to rail advocates like you and others in Indiana. This question comes from Patrick, who says, what challenges or goals would you suggest for Governor-elect Brown's Secretary of Transit choice, Matthew Ubelhor, for improving rail in Indiana?
Yeah, so we are very much looking forward to meeting with Matthew soon, and you know, getting a feel for what his priorities are. So that is, you know, come 2025, come February, I guess, we'll definitely want to get with him and ensure that that his priorities are realistic. And for example, I'm going to be attending a presentation in Indianapolis in January from INDOT, where they want to add a lane to I-65 between downtown and the south side, which is already 3 lanes in each direction. And frankly, outside of rush hour, it's not very busy. So I'll be asking a lot of questions. So to hopefully answer your question, Chris, and the person who asked it, that's a priority, is to get with him, befriend him, influence him, understand that we want to understand where his head is.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Great. I'm sorry, was that the last one you were going to ask? Because I was going to say one last thing.
Go for it.
I just, Richard said, why don't Indiana planes, Indy to South Bend. Okay, you're right. They should have something talking about Indy to South Bend. I read that question wrong. Thank you all for being here. Sorry we went a little over time. Really appreciate those of you who are members. We've got, I think, tremendous opportunity for us to change the conversation around the country, but with leverage around the 4 states that surround Chicago, including Indianapolis. Really excited about the next 6 months and how we can change that conversation. So if you would like to have more trains, if you would like to have more webinars like this, again, highspeedrail.us and click that Become a Member button. So thank you all for being here again, and thank you, Todd, for your presentation.
Yes, thank you, Rick. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Todd, and thanks everyone for being here.
Yep. Bye.
Take care.